Perfect. Welcome, my brother.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. Well, for the people that doesn't know, first of all, I do speak English. I mean, I'm not the best, but I do speak English a little bit. And here we have in this podcast, in this episode, Daniel Joseph, a dear friend of mine and fellow author and researcher of many books, a series of books specifically as well called Swimming with the Whale series. And yeah, it's just great to have you here as a first episode ever for
No,
this.
it seems appropriate, doesn't it?
For the Yeah, it does. Daniel and I, we have been having a relationship for the last 10 years, around the last 10 years, and um, when we first met, it, it had a profound impact in my life to be able to know you and to be able to see life through your eyes and your experience in the 72, 73,
Four.
74 now years that you have.
Thank you for mentioning it.
64 then years of being alive in this planet. You have been and seen many things. You have been in many places in the world, and you have studied as well different things that I believe and I consider they have a huge value for anyone's life. So I think that's why I want to introduce you to the audience as um, a guide and a spiritual uh, mentor or guide. Just in that, I like that connotation of guide because it makes it out of like a level or degree perspective,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. We're all on the same level, walking. You know, somebody once said, "We're just walking each other home. That's all we're doing."
Yeah,
So,
yeah. He has the hiccups, uh, as you can see, but
sorry.
it's fine. It's gonna be just part of the episode. It's natural, and we are authentic and open here. So I didn't want to miss this opportunity because I think there is many people out there that they could benefit from just one of the random normal conversations that we have, because they go through a very uh, amplified range of subjects and deepness as well. But I believe it's related with everyone. It's about humans, who we are, what is our purpose in this place, what is reality, is there a God out there that created the universes, all these questions or topics that we all humans have in our everyday life. Maybe we forget about them because we are busy and we full our life with things and jobs, but it's in the nature, would you say? It's a natural thing of humans to wander in this area? Or?
Absolutely. I mean, the quest for truth is, you look in a baby, look in your baby. It just wants to know, it's seeking. It's always seeking. When we get in schools, maybe we get that dulled down a little bit, but it's human nature to seek the truth because you're never going to be happy till you find the truth.
Yeah.
We can't be satisfied with illusions and nonsense forever.
When I talk about truth with friends and family, sometimes it's hard for me to talk about researching the truth without having a connotation or a tone of like, oh, so you know the truth type of thing, or what truth, because everybody has their own truth, right? How would you address this, like, quest for truth?
Well, you have to separate things into the eternal and the temporary. We're in the world's temporary world. So in these worlds, no one, even in the highest heaven, has the absolute truth. The absolute truth, we can say, is a law cause. The cause of everything and the law governing the expression of everything. But that doesn't give a lot of meaning to people. But it is the absolute truth. So in our world, what we have is relative truth, because no one has that absolute truth, not even in the highest heavens, like I said. So all we're doing when we're seeking the truth is we're climbing the ladder of relative truth. And the more we seek, the more we study, the more we experience, then we make steps up that ladder of relative truth toward the absolute truth. And the relative truth we have is only so much of the absolute truth. And you'll notice truth for science, it changes a lot, It changes maybe every 10 years or so in certain disciplines.
Yeah.
Pluto was a planet, then it wasn't a planet, now it is a planet again. I'm not sure if they've cast it out again. They keep changing it. But in spirituality, it's more like this relative truth is here, and then you expand it, and the next level of truth includes the previous level. And it keeps going like that till it finally hits that outer circumference of the absolute truth, which is when we merge back to God, which nobody we know on earth has done that yet.
Yeah, so I mean, let me see if I can put it in my own words here. When we talk about truth, we are talking about the cause of life and the universe as the absolute truth. But also in a microcosm or in a specific, like, relatable aspect for people, when we talk about truth, we talk about where we come from, where are we going, who we really are. Just breaking ourselves out of illusion of what we think we are and what we think this life is, so that we can experience a freer life, or a life without so much or so many boundaries or tags or boxes that we put ourselves in. That makes sense? So that aligns with that.
Yeah. We come in and we end up getting these overlays from our parents, from our friends, from our culture, from our schools, and it's really a kind of a lie. It's telling us, it's doing what you said, it compartmentalizes us into these thinking we're this limited thing. But the truth is, we've come from the absolute. So we've come from God. So we're children of God. They all say that. Well, what's born of a God is a God. The same way what's born of a horse is called a horse. So in this sense, we're gods, but we're not the God. We're God in nature, but not in expression. And I like the term gods with amnesia, because that's what we are. We've forgotten not only where we've come from, but who we really are, what we really are.
I love that quote, that terminology of gods with amnesia. Maybe I will even call this episode Gods with Amnesia. We are gods without knowing we are gods. Because what is a god if not some type of creator, right? And we can see, I think, if we observe human beings, we are creators. We create our reality, we create technology, we create buildings, we create devices, electricity, we create a lot of things, Wi-Fi, now artificial intelligence, right? And we create our own lives as well, that sometimes we don't realize that with our thoughts, with our emotions. So if we are gods with amnesia, then what is a god, and how that looks like? What capabilities or possibilities do we have as humans, as gods?
Well, the characteristic of God and of us is selfhood. We are self. See, no animal has ever changed the way that they live. So, and because they can't use the mind, they can't do what we can do, because we are a self using the mind to create all these things, like Wi-Fi, artificial intelligence, and all that. But more importantly, what we're creating is this little shell of ourself. We think we're this. We think we have weaknesses. We have these strengths, and we're just, that's it. But we're so much more, and that's what the whole process of spiritual development is about, is to unfold, to look inside and unfold that. We don't have to create it. We're already that. We just have to realize it. That's why they call the ultimate goal of spirituality self-realization. Just realizing what we are, what we've always been, and what we always will be. We've got these layers over us now.
Yeah. What about, like, the idea of God being love, as the universe being love in a costume, or hiding in different forms, but in the core being this force or this energy we call love? I mean, we had to go in and talk about what really is love, right? Because we have misconceptions of love as egoistic kind of love, or related with the couple, or all these, I would say, small versions of what actually love means. But maybe we can go there in a minute. But I think there is a bigger perspective of what God is and what is possible as gods for us humans, more than just think about us as love. Because I think we have capabilities that we haven't unfold in ourselves, right? Like traveling outside our bodies, having conscious experiences in different planes of existence that we call now maybe dreams, or other levels of reality, dimensions maybe, that we are not even aware of. Most of us, we're not just aware of, but we don't think reality is that big. Maybe it's just about having this physical human body, building up a family, buying a house, buying a car, having a nice job, and then dying, and that's it. How deep is this reality that we are still discovering in this plane?
No, it's endlessly deep and endlessly broad. But we're smack down here where the world has got us looking right at the world only, and we don't look inside. We don't look above us at whatever you want to say, inside, deeper, or higher. Same thing. So we don't touch on that. It's like if you have a radio in here and it's tuned to channel 4, you don't get what's broadcast on channel 6 or channel 10. So we have to be the ones to open up our receptivity to these higher things in order to start perceiving them.
Yeah. To bring it as well down into earth, I want to say, like, with my own personal experience, sharing a little bit about that. When I start studying more, and when I met you and I started reading one of your books, the first book I read, Swimming with the Whale, I was going through all these concepts new for me, right? I actually picked up the book in the plane back from Europe, from Madrid to Mexico.
Oh, yeah?
And I went through the book, almost all the book, in that 12-hour or 11-hour flight, because I was just very interested in knowing more, right? But even though at the beginning it was some words, they were hard for me to digest or to integrate completely, because the information in the words is like if they were big files, and my software wasn't able to process that fast, that information, right? That meaning. So, but while giving myself some time to be able to process and digest and put in practice this new perspective of myself and reality, I start discovering, this is one of the key things for me in my own personal process, I start discovering that I wasn't that little false self I thought I was. I wasn't my reputation, I wasn't my degrees, I wasn't my failures or my successes in life. I wasn't my parents or my name even. And this fact of first understanding the concept of personality as this fake self that we can talk about a little bit, that was the first step for me to be able, I guess, to create space in order for change. And change, I mean polishing parts of this lower self that they were not serving me anymore, like being maybe aggressive or some of the lower habits that this personality self has. How would you describe in simple words what is the personality and how this is important for anyone to know?
We are a spirit, but we've been voluntarily entered this world of existence, and we have three bodies in a sense. You have a physical body, everybody knows that. And when I started studying spirituality in 1970, people really thought they were their body. Now, not that many people are so locked into just thinking their body, but they think they're their personality, and the personality is the emotional body, the range of emotions, the good, the bad, and the noetical body, which just means the mental body, your range of thoughts, good to bad. So we become identified with those now. Now we have to break that identify, because our material body is not us, but it's ours. So therefore we're responsible for it. Our psychical body, our emotional body is not us, but we're responsible for the emotions and the effect they have on everyone around us. We're not our mental body, but our mental body is ours. So again, we're responsible for it and the effects it has on other people. So the material body is just something the personality uses, and it has its behaviors and habits and all that stuff. But it's really, the personality is really the emotions and the thoughts.
Okay, the emotions and the thoughts that we create during this lifetime and maybe some previous lifetimes.
About 20% of the stuff we did in previous lives carry over to this life, which means we have 80% free to change.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of percentage that we can change.
Yeah, in this regard, I think that another whole chapter we could talk about. It's a reincarnation and how this makes sense, right? But this is not gonna be
Too much for this.
yeah. But anyone that wants to know more, I think it's nowadays with technology and the information transferring everywhere around the world, you can look around, and there is evidence nowadays that reincarnation makes much more sense as a cyclical form and characteristic of life that we as nature and life have in ourselves as well, that just being a line, right? Like a point in the beginning of our birth and then our death, just like a line, instead of a circular cycle like the stations of the year or the universe and the planets and the orbs and all these things. Anyway, the waves, maybe. Right. Coming back to the bodies, I think that this aspect of having three bodies, I think most people, they can say like, what the fuck are you saying, right? Like, I just see one body. So I think an important aspect of understanding, for me at least, we have three bodies, is questioning ourselves. What is a body? What is the function or the aim of a body?
Now you're getting deep, because the material body is obviously just the vehicle we use in the material world. But we can't live in the material world right past 100 years or so, right? So we're going someplace else, right? Unless you believe that this is the end. But so you have these higher bodies called the psychical body. In Hinduism, they call it the astral body. It doesn't matter what you call it. We have it. And it's nature is that of our emotions we have right here and now. It's not something different. We have it right now. It's not some body we're going to. We are in that body now. But when our material body dies, we will find ourselves in the psychical world, in our psychical body, which is just, this world's the third dimension, that world's the fourth dimension, the middle world is the fifth dimension.
Would you say it's correct, or it's precise to say and describe maybe a body, and this is how I understand it, it's a vehicle for expression and experience for humans. It's a vehicle that allow us as humans, as a spirit or humans, to express ourselves and to experience life.
Exactly. That's exactly the definition.
And with that said, then maybe the thoughts and the emotions are or could be seen as a vehicle as well, a vehicle that we have to express ourselves and to experience reality. So in that sense, that's how we can see as emotions and the thoughts as bodies. I mean, this is just an aspect, but it just helps me make this bridge, right, in between how I have a physical body, a vehicle of expression and experience in the physical world, and then I have emotions and an emotional body that is my vehicle to express and experience reality, and as well with the mind, right, with the mental body, the thoughts. I have thoughts and I receive as well impressions, and I express myself through these thoughts.
That's right. And when your material body dies, you've been creating your psychical body, this body of your emotions, body of your thoughts. So when you pass over, you go right into it. It's nothing. It's not going to seem something strange. You're going to still be you. You're still Andres with a certain level of hopes, dreams, fears, all those things that compose you as a personality now. You're going to be that recomposed on the next dimension with the same.
Yeah.
And so in that regard, you say no one goes to a hell or a heaven. They're not already in, because you're taking that with you.
Yeah, the non-physical aspect of ourselves, it doesn't end with the physical death or with the end of our physical aspect, right? This brings me as well into a little bit of another analogy to keep just polishing this idea of the bodies. We care about our physical body. Some of us, we do exercise, we try to eat healthy. Now, how can we care for our emotional and mental bodies so that they are healthy? Because otherwise, if they're unhealthy, it's most likely that we are not going to have a positive, healthy experience in those dimensions, right?
That's right, because we don't need to do much for our physical body. Just keep it clean, nourish it, give it a little exercise, and it's going to be fine, because we haven't created our material body, but we're creating our emotional body and our mental body all the time by every thought, feeling we have. So what makes that sick is the contaminated feelings and thoughts, hatred, jealousy, unhealthy desires make the body. So our work to create a strong psychical or a strong emotional and mental body is to purify it of these lower emotions and thoughts and desires.
So purifying these lower emotions and thoughts, would this be kind of like just the first step to do that? Would it be to be aware, be more aware of what is the activity we are experiencing and projecting in our emotional aspect and in our mental aspect?
Mm-hmm. Because most people just go through life subconsciously. They don't really think about themselves too much. They don't think about the effect too much. They're just going through, they're usually just trying to fulfill one desire after another. So to do that, you have to do something like self-analysis, introspection. You start to think, what am I feeling? Is that really the feeling I really want to have when I hate that person? Because that's really shaping your destiny in this world, and it's definitely casting your destiny for where you're going to go after you leave your material body. So we need to use some technique and method, and introspection, self-analysis is the best one. And it takes a little while in practice, but you'll start to learn. It's like, man, maybe I shouldn't have had that feeling. Maybe that's not the right feeling. I could have had a better feeling. So then next time you replace that lower feeling with a little higher feeling. Have a little compassion for people. And most people get upset with other people because they do something that's not in their way of thinking. Have some compassion.
Yeah. So yeah, I think introspection as a key, one of the 5 golden keys that this mystic you introduced me to, and have been reading and researching for years now. Daskalos, he was known as Daskalos. He talked about these 5 golden keys, and that's also another huge conversation in itself. But one of them, and maybe the most important one of them all, it's a introspection key, as this self-analysis exercise. I love this idea of how in this introspection exercise, which is a simple practice at the beginning, at least, it has many layers and it can go very deep as well, but it's a simple practice that he recommends to do every night, right, from 5 to 15 minutes, not super long, not crazy,
10 minutes is fine.
so we can keep doing it constantly, so it actually creates the effect and the power that it's meant to be, or that it has, with the repetition and just building the habit. But it's this practice of thinking about ourselves and saying, as if we have this higher perspective of our own personality, of our own character in life, right? What did I do today? How my day started? So we go and we look around and we say, hey, the first thing I did today, I woke up and I then stand from the bed, I walk to the toilet, brush my teeth, and we start following our character around life in a physical aspect first. Well, or it may be even at the same time, right? Looking about the physical aspect, is there something I did that I have maybe I could have done before better? Sorry, or is there something I didn't do that I could have done for others or for myself? So we are looking for fields of opportunity for growth or for this purification process of our own self that is just going to drive us to a happier life. It's not something that somebody else is giving us the standard for what we should do or what we shouldn't do. It's something about ourselves, looking to ourselves in this physical aspect, but also in the emotional aspect, right? Is there something I felt that maybe I haven't felt, that I could have felt different, right? And my English here. Or is there something I thought that I haven't, maybe I could have thought differently or better? Because thoughts are things, they have power, right? And suddenly we end up thinking without realizing we are thinking, and we are projecting sometimes thought to others and our surroundings, and they have an effect. As you were saying, we are responsible for these behaviors in a physical, emotional, and mental levels.
And you hit the good point that you do this as detached witness. You don't do it from the vantage point of your own personality. If somebody says something to you and you give them a slap, and you say, well, if you were introspecting on that, from your own personality, you say, well, that good person said bad things to me. I have a right to defend myself. But you don't do that. You look up over it and say, yeah, he did, but maybe he was having a bad day. Or maybe you could have said something to help him calm down. So you see it from a detached perspective. And the real thing about introspection, anyone on the spiritual path, we have to climb 2 ladders, the ladder of consciousness and the ladder of self-awareness. Well, all spiritual systems talk about raising your consciousness. Very important, but not without uplifting your self-awareness. And introspection is the prime mechanism, practice to become more and more aware of yourself.
Yeah, I was coming into this point as well of how the introspection, it can be seen as a way we use the mind as a mirror, right? That the mind, this thing we all talk about or we all give from guaranteed, we have it in our everyday life, but we know very little about. But one of the things we do know is that the mind is the biggest tool we have as humans, which differentiate, or it makes a difference between us and animals or other forms of life. The fact that we can use the mind in different degrees. Now, introspecting for me is like building a mirror with the mind in this activity so that we can see ourselves from angles that maybe we're not seeing ourselves during the day, right? And this is a great practice because it not just gives the space while having this bigger picture of yourself, creates this space for change, positive personal change. It also starts giving freedom, which is a big part of this exercise. Sometimes we are enslaved by our own little personality self with its own reactions and impressions and filters about reality, about ourselves, right? Somebody says something we don't like and we end up in a fight, for example. If we are not aware that we have this huge, maybe cloud of thoughts and emotions that can make ourselves reactive into some type of behavior like this. So while doing these exercises, there is a space for change and there's a possibility of a maybe bigger form of freedom or amplified form of freedom for ourselves. Would you say so?
For sure. And you hit a good point about a mirror. Because if you want to know how you look in a material body, you go and look at the mirror. Am I dressed right? Am I used to? So you're using reflection. Introspection is just another way of saying self-reflection. So now we're looking at ourselves in three mirrors. A physical mirror, did I behave properly? Was I nice to a person? Was I helpful to a person physically? And then the emotional mirror, did I say something unkind to that person? Did I have harsh emotions toward them? Or did I have harsh thoughts? So we're really looking at ourselves in a threefold mirror. And it's by reflection, by how we can learn to see ourselves physically, emotionally, and mentally.
Nice. Yeah. Again, I think this may seem as something untangible or like high for many people to talk about, but we're talking about like how can we be happier? How can we have a more free life in terms of not feeling so angry about things or not feeling so attached to our own thoughts and ideas, right? This is just about how to live a happier life and how to go in sync with universal laws and principles that govern this reality so that we don't struggle against the current type of thing, right?
Just to create a happier life for you and your loved ones around you. And I know that doesn't sound maybe really advanced, but it really is advanced. And the other thing about it is that when you start introspecting, you as a personality are not the same personality you were 10 years ago. And not going to be the same personality you're going to be in 10 years from now. So what's that mean? Well, that's the false self. That's not absolutely real. It's just a shadow that's changing all the time. Your body's changing all the time. Your emotions are changing all the time. Your thoughts are changing all the time. And when you start doing this and you say, oh, I could have been a little kinder here, and the next time you are a little kinder, that tells you something super important, that is not really you. The real you changed that behavior. So now you're starting to see, oh, there's something higher in me than just these emotions, thoughts, motivations, all these little temporary things that constantly change over our life. That's the real key of doing introspection, finding the real self. Call it the soul self, call it the inner self, whatever. It's just something that's higher in you. It's that ray of divine ray in you on which we dress the personality. We put these emotions and thoughts and physical behaviors on top of this divine ray, and we think we are those behaviors. But just look back. I mean, things that used to bother you 20 years ago don't bother you now. I mean, Jay, you may be caught up in some struggle 10 years now, you won't even remember it. So,
Yeah.
But who are we then? If we're not those feelings and thoughts that we think we are today, who are we? That's the real aim of any real, sincere spiritual system.
Yeah. Who are we? I also think this question or this quest for truth of who we are, it has the potential to just upgrade the way we live in this world, because I think once we start knowing more about who we are, we start realizing naturally our interconnectionness with the world, with the people around us. We start realizing that maybe, we thought we were separated one from each other, and then we realize we're part of something bigger. This idea of knowing who we are is great because it makes a possibility for a new world in my mind. If we have identify ourselves with our lower personality, we feel separated from the rest of the world, people, planet, nature. If we connect more with who we are and we realize we are spirit, and the spirit is connected with others, and spirit is connected with the planet, we live a more fulfilling life, we live a more powerful life, a bigger, brighter perception of reality. Right? Would you say that?
I would definitely say that, yeah.
Well, Daniel, this is the first time we record. We're having some as well technical opportunities for improvement. So I'm going to close the session, the episode, this first brief episode here. Just being grateful with you for everything that you have done in the previous years and keep doing. And I wish and I pray that your path keeps opening more and more so that people can see through your eyes and know your heart, and hopefully as well they receive some benefit from it.
Well, thank you, Andres. You're doing great work yourself, and you got a great future ahead of you, and I think you're going to help a lot of people by sharing this information, and yourself, of course. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
All right, you're welcome, and we see you guys in the next episode of Investigadores de la Verdad, or Investigando la Verdad. I'm not sure yet if it's going to be researchers of truth, or I think it's going to be researching truth in Spanish, Investigando la Verdad, because I think that resonates more. All right, see you later.
Thank you. Bye-bye.